Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. The precious metals took a beating today again. And in fact, silver, the silver ETF, is on pace for its sharpest weekly slide in 3 years, according to MarketWatch. And gold suffers its biggest weekly percentage decline in 2.5 years. You know, silver has broken through that floor that I have been talking about for quite a while here on the channel since it reached $17. Now it's below that and for a significant amount of time here. So let's explore what's going on and why this is happening and why we shouldn't necessarily trust everything we hear in the news. Yes, we'll start here with this MarketWatch article here, and it says that gold futures settled with a loss on Friday at their lowest in more than 3 months and posted their biggest weekly percentage decline since May of 2017. Losses for the week came on the back of a rotation by investors out of assets perceived as safe and into those that could offer richer returns on the back of some optimism about progress on the U.S.-China trade deal. The U.S. stock market and treasury yields climbed for the week, and strength in the U.S. dollar also helped dull demand for dollar-denominated gold. For gold investors, it could have been worse, but bias is still towards the downside now. It's amazing how things change. You know, we're talking about upside, but you know, I did talk about that there was some theories that gold and silver would dip before it rose again. And so this is kind of where we're at. December gold was at negative 0.43%, and the COMEX fell $3.50 to settle at $1,462.90 an ounce after declining 1.8% on Thursday. Saw the lowest settlement for a month active contract since August 2nd, according to FactSet data. Now, Jeff Wright here says that for gold investors it could have been worse, but bias is still towards the downside. He was saying that next week could be choppy, and he thinks that gold will retest this week's lows. So they're looking for this downward movement here. So gold gave up 3.2% for the week, the biggest since the week ended May 2nd, 2017, when the most active contract fell 3.26%. Silver fell about 6.8% for the week. It took a much bigger hit. It's the sharpest such fall since the week ended July 7th, 2017. During the week, there were reports of a Phase 1 U.S.-China trade agreement reaching final stages, prompting gold to become less attractive in the short term, said Wright. Now, those reports proved really to be false, because on Friday, President Donald Trump told reporters that he hasn't agreed to remove tariffs on Chinese goods, and that's where we saw the movement with the precious metals, on hopes that these removing of these tariffs were going to happen maybe even before the thing was signed. Silver Wolverine posted a video about that earlier today, and it's a lesson to us about the media and how they report. White House advisor Peter Navarro said that the U.S. hadn't agreed to roll back tariffs amid reports that there were disagreements within the Trump administration whether to remove existing import levies. Now, as far as the reporting on that, you know, obviously you can't trust the media, and as far as they're going to do everything they can to hurt Trump, which is why, you know, it's most of what you hear there is referred to as fake news. On Thursday, China's Ministry of Commerce said that both sides had accepted that if a Phase 1 trade deal came to pass, the U.S. and China would reduce tariffs simultaneously and proportionally, but it hasn't been signed yet. And we're going to actually go through here and look at this, explore this a bit more, how this happened from Reuters, which is part of kind of that mainstream media. President Donald Trump on Friday said he has not agreed to rollbacks on U.S. tariffs sought by China, sparking fresh doubts about when the two world's largest economies may end a 16th-month trade war that has slowed global growth. Officials from both countries on Thursday said China and the United States had agreed to roll back tariffs on each other's goods on a Phase 1 trade deal, but the idea of tariff rollbacks met with stiff opposition within the Trump administration, Reuters reported later on Thursday. But this is even sketchy because according to what Silver Wolverine have found, said that all that stuff has been coming from China to kind of offset things. That, hey, the United States agreed to remove tariffs. Well, until something's signed, really, we don't know. Even Donald in New Mexico pointed that out, and I'm kind of with him that I don't really believe anything that anybody says until something's signed on the dotted line. Those divisions were on full display on Friday when Trump, who has repeatedly described himself as tariff man, told reporters at the White House that he had not agreed to reduce tariffs already put in place. China would like to get somewhat of a rollback, not a complete rollback, because they know I won't do it, Trump said. I haven't agreed to anything. He said that China wanted to make a deal more than he did, adding that the U.S. tariffs were generating billions for U.S. all coffers, and I'm very happy right now we're talking in billions of dollars. Scammer. Hello? They hung up. The U.S. stocks dipped after Trump's comments, and the dollar fell against the yen, stalling a rally fueled by trade deal optimism that took major indexes to record levels. Trump also said that the trade deal with China, if completed, would be signed in the United States. Assuming we get it, could be Iowa or farm country or someplace like that. It will be in our country, he said. The farm state of Iowa has been hammered by China's retaliatory tariffs on U.S. soybeans, pork, and other farm products, with its long-standing connection to Chinese President Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping, editor of China's state-run Global Times newspaper, reacted to Trump on Twitter, writing that markets were not expecting Trump's statements. It's not a flat denial, Hu tweeted. What's certain is that if there's no rollback of tariffs, there will be no Phase 1 deal. Experts inside and outside the U.S. government warned that the Phase 1 trade pact could still fall apart. U.S. officials said a lot of work remained to be done when Trump announced the outlines of an interim deal last month, and Beijing has since pushed back on the U.S. demands for big agricultural purchases, among other issues. And anonymous sourcing circus, and this is kind of where this thing is talking about. That's the problem with the media. They're quoting anonymous sources all the time. Peter Navarro lashed out at journalists on Friday in an email, accusing them of being played by Chinese propagandists who were falsely stating that the two sides had agreed to cancel tariffs in phases. Navarro has complained that too many reports relied on anonymous sources and said only Trump and the U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer should be quoted on stories about the China trade negotiations. The USTR has not responded to queries about tariff rollbacks. For the good of the country, this anonymous sourcing circus must stop. In a haste to scoop their competition, too many reporters are running the very risk of getting played, getting it wrong, and hurting this country, Navarro said. Trump has used tariffs on billions of dollars of Chinese goods as his primary weapon in the protracted trade war, which is aimed at forcing major changes in China's trade and industrial policy. The United States is demanding that China end the theft of forced transfer of American intellectual property and curb subsidies to state-owned enterprises while granting U.S. companies more access to China markets. Trump also wants China to vastly increase its purchases of U.S. farm products. The Phase 1 trade deal would largely address farm purchases, access to China's financial markets, and improve copyright and trademark protections in China. More difficult technology transfer issues, subsidies, and cybersecurity rules will be left to future negotiations. China and the United States were on the brink of reaching a deal in May when Beijing backed away from it, prompting Trump to raise tariff rates and embark on new rounds of punitive duties. If an interim deal is finished and signed, it is widely expected to include a U.S. pledge to scrap tariffs scheduled for December 15th on about $156 billion worth of Chinese imports, including cell phones, laptop computers, and toys. But China is also seeking cancellation of other U.S. tariffs put in place since July of 2018. Chinese Commerce Ministry spokesperson Jiao Feng on Thursday said both countries must simultaneously cancel some tariffs on each other's goods to reach the Phase 1 pact. Well, that's fine, but it's all a matter of what they came up with behind closed doors, what they negotiated is what this Trump is referring to. And because of the nature of this and what Trump has said, that he is not as willing to, is not as much in a hurry to get these things handled, the economy's really been humming along for all intents and purposes, other than what the farmers have had to put up with. And they are getting subsidized. Basically, they're getting subsidized from the tariffs that have been on China. They're getting this money to compensate for what's been going on. Not an ideal situation, but make no mistake, that money is injecting and helping them while they wait for this. But it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And it goes back to kind of where this at. There's another article here about the dollar and what's happening, because we're seeing this occur, this kind of reversal, or not really reversal, but clarification, that it's not as hopeful as some of the media have reported. The dollar is still strong, and gold and silver prices are still low. And silver especially has taken a hit, going below the level that I had predicted it would. I thought we had a hard floor, hard resistance at $17, even with negotiated tariffs or negotiated trade. But let's say this deal is signed in December. And again, I'll believe it when I see it. What's going to happen to gold and silver then, once there's something signed? I believe they probably will continue to decline even more and take pretty big hits. And all across the board, we're seeing pretty big movement with gold and silver, platinum, and palladium now too, which is somewhat surprising. So I believe we'll continue to see declines, which reflect really the true nature of the economy right now. Even though with all the different measures of the economy that are coming, everybody believes there's going to be a recession at one time or another. But if you do have an injection of a deal and the removal of tariffs and the normal economic flow of the markets, then I believe that's going to be an injection into the economy that could stave off or postpone a recession. You'll see GDP rise. In fact, it'll be good for the whole world. I mean, you're thinking about this, between the two largest economies in the world. And so I believe now there's no really barrier that could keep precious metals up. This points out to what I talked about recently, to what drives these markets: fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And we're seeing it happen before our very eyes, where there's hopes of trade. And even now, after Donald Trump clarified, that he wasn't removing tariffs, the metals are still reacting downwards. They tried to come up a little bit earlier today, according to Silver Wolverine, but now backed off of it because there's still some hope that this deal may be signed. And so we'll see. A matter of finding a venue and tightening things up a bit and seeing where things go. I do hope that as a part of this, that they do roll back some of these tariffs, because I'm not a big fan of tariffs, and I think that it would be better for everybody to have freer trade between nations, where there's no penalties tied to them. But there's a lot of details that have to be worked out. But make no mistake, trade is a big driver of prices for gold and silver, and we're seeing that as evident today. And so, but that silver moving below $17 an ounce, that broke away my prediction for it. I didn't think we'd see that happen. I thought we were playing it safe there, but there it is. You can see it right before you. Silver is now below $17 an ounce. An opportunity to buy? Perhaps so. An opportunity to wait until prices go lower? Perhaps so. They could recover next week. If there's more uncertainty, these losses will disappear overnight. That's how fear, uncertainty, and doubt works. And I think we could see a complete reversal of these prices as well. But it is amazing, because every time I see this kind of movement, 2 and 3 days of a move one way or the other, people are jumping on the bandwagon to predict the next big move up or down. Not me. I'm out of that. I mean, it's fun to predict kind of, and I'm no problem with making guesses about gold and silver, because I'm not a professional, and sometimes it's just fun to kind of guess where you think it's going to go based off the markets. but my guesses are based off of the psychology of the markets more than the technical aspect of it. So there you have it. Friday night, the markets are closed now, or will be closing as at the time of recording this video. By the time you see it, they'll probably be closed. And we'll have the weekend to mull over all of this. But that's it. I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to y'all for watching, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.